Thank you all for joining us today, and really looking forward to this conversation because, as Lee talked about earlier, we have a HITLAB legacy company here with Omri Shor. And Medisafe won the Breakthrough Alliance competition, Middle East, Asia, and Africa in 2014. That was held in India, at IIT Delhi, in New Delhi, India. We want to talk about the importance of partnerships between big life science companies and startups and companies that are emerging into the digital health ecosystem. And so Omri has a lot of experience with this, as does Abhay from AstraZeneca. And we're going to start off with short introductions by each of themselves. So Omri, if you could start.
My name is Omri, co-founder and CEO of Medisafe. Founded the company a bit more than a decade ago, after our father, who's diabetic and hypertensive, accidentally overdosed on his medications, and we understood how difficult it is for people to manage their medications and get the outcomes they want. So today, from this one father, we have 13 million registered users on the platform, and we work with many of our friends across the pharma ecosystem to support their patients and improve their patients' health.
Super. Abhay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Abhay Kakde. I'm with AstraZeneca, part of the commercial digital health team, leading a team called the A.Catalyst network, which is a collection of 25 innovation hubs across the world. These innovation hubs were created to partner with startups, scale-ups, VCs, other industry partners, academic institutions, governments, and policymakers. Great to be here.
No, and thank you both for joining. We appreciate your both coming in from long distances to be here today. And really, this room is filled with not just major life science companies, health plans, and hospitals, but also with a lot of startups and investors. So just sharing your knowledge that you have is so important for them to understand how and what the best ways forward to develop partnerships are in the ecosystem today, particularly today, because we're seeing a lot of asymmetrical diffusion of digital technologies. So the things that we thought would happen 5 years ago, we're seeing extraordinary diffusion of digital technologies, but not in the ways that everyone expected 5 years ago. So things like Lilly Direct and other types of digital technologies are growing fantastically in ways that we didn't expect, where other things are not growing so well. And so we're seeing a lot of that. And so I think we'll start with this idea of a partnership. And so we'll start with you this time, Abhay. What is it that makes a good partnership between a major life science company and a digital health company?
So there are basically three aspects which, at least from the eyes of a pharmaceutical company, we look at whenever we partner with any startup or a scale-up. The first is both our visions should be shared, and it needs to be strategic, where we need to be able to do more with less. We need to be in the same areas of focus with a shared vision. The second is any partnerships which we enter into, they need to be scalable, which basically means that we don't want to have death by 1,000 pilots. Wherever we see successes in certain markets, in certain countries, we should be able to scale up to other communities across the world. Right? We want to follow a portfolio-based approach. We don't want to be working with multiple partners all trying to do the same thing. And the final pillar is it needs to be sustainable. We know that no pharmaceutical company can be sponsoring these projects perpetually. It needs to be handed over to the healthcare ecosystem. And there we look at projects from a 3 to 5 year horizon, after which we know that it needs to be successfully handed over to the payers, providers in their respective markets.
All right, Omri, same question to you. Let's hear from the digital health company side.
Yeah, so from my perspective, and we've been partnering with Pharma. When was that time that you brought me to Boehringer Ingelheim to present?
2015, 2016.
Something like this, yeah. So from my perspective, what we bring to the table is agility, innovation, and patient centricity. All of these, when you come from a big organization like a pharma company, are challenging. So when we're able to bring together a solution to market with Pharma, as you heard, shared vision, scalability, but then we move very quickly and bring the right solutions to market in a short period of time, that's from my perspective a very strong partnership between the two.
Okay. And so going back to you, Abhay, when you look at some of the hallmarks that make a strong partnership, when you look at some of the successful steps that are taken to do that, give the audience here some insights. Is there a recipe book? Is there an ingredient book for what you've seen now as you're doing these partnerships?
So I would say digital health per se is a very nascent field. And traditionally pharmaceuticals or pharmaceutical companies, anyone in the life sciences space, they've all been very egocentric, right? We've always thought that we have all the answers. We have a solution which can answer all those questions, treat all those patients. But we've always been very egocentric. And because of this, the scale of innovation which we've seen over the last few years, we've not seen for a very long time. And it's time that we move from following a very egocentric approach to a more ecocentric approach. Because when you look at the entire patient journey, right from disease prevention, disease awareness, diagnosis, treatment, post-treatment, and wellness, we know that there's no single player who has all the answers. Everyone has that core competency, and that's why the only way we can ensure that the patient journey is holistic is by partnerships. And this is a learning which we've had over the last 5 years. And this is where we are open to partnering with anyone who's trying to move that needle in the space of innovation to ensure that any projects or any partnerships we enter into are more patient-centered.
And so what are some examples that you give in those areas?
I can give an example of one of the earliest solutions we started off working with. There was this small company which came to us saying that, hey, see, we have this idea that we want to develop an AI which will be able to read a chest X-ray and identify a few conditions of the lung and the heart. And we need help from a pharmaceutical company to help build that solution and, of course, scale that solution. And that's where we started working with this company way back in 2020. Cut down to 2024. It's been 5 years since we started working with this company. We've helped develop their solution. This solution is something which is capable of not only identifying lung nodules, but also potentially classifying those nodules as lung cancer. It's grown from being a small company to close to a $500 million valuation. AstraZeneca and this company, we've committed to screening 5 million patients for lung cancer risk as part of the World Economic Forum's Edison Alliance. But the biggest success that we've seen is that it's not just an AstraZeneca success story. We've had some of our closest competition or competitor pharma companies who've come in and invested in this startup that we started working with. AstraZeneca put in no funding, but it was some of our biggest competition, big pharma companies who've come ahead and invested in this company, which just goes to show that innovation is happening everywhere. It's just someone who takes an onus from bringing it from bedside to bedside.
That's fantastic. And Omri, some examples that you've had as well.
Yeah, I'll give one example. Top 10 pharma company came to us with a biologic drug, very expensive, as you heard previously. And they thought that there are a number of issues along the patient journey, alongside how to inject the drug. And this is a miracle drug. It acts very quickly. So patients within a short period of time stop taking the drug. And then the circle begins again from the beginning. So that was suboptimal. But on top of all of that, for this drug, they have a very expensive patient support, white glove patient support team. And they said, this drug is going to scale, and we cannot afford to do that and to add more and more patient support people. So they came to us and they said, hey, we want to improve engagement with patients. We want to reduce their cost, and we want to have better outcomes. So 2.5 years after, we have 53,000 patients who enrolled on this platform. This is, from this drug perspective, roughly 5% of patients were enrolled. On their first challenge, we've reduced the cost by about $30 million, the cost of human labor. But more than that, we extended the time of therapy and the patient engagement by 2 additional months. And when you do the calculation of what that means, that adds up to be $300 million in added value. But not only that, we also see better outcomes for patients. So there is a reduction of hospitalization on this drug. It's a drug that supports asthma patients. There's less use of the emergency inhaler, but we've seen less hospitalizations and less ER visits, roughly 25% less. So this is really, from my perspective, a huge success that touches all the areas that are surrounding the patients and the healthcare system.
Yeah, that's a big case study, and that certainly is the kind of thing it sounds like partnerships are really made for too. And let's finish up with a quick question just to wrap it the quarter of an hour here. But certainly we want to know some of the pitfalls of partnerships and how to mitigate those that you've seen of it in terms of your work at AstraZeneca, having done so many of these now.
I would just say that startups, they move at a particular speed because they're small, they're nimble, they're agile. And big pharma, startups should not have that same expectation that big pharma can move at that same speed. And I think that's one of the areas where there's always a misalignment, where pharma traditionally it moves so slowly, it's painfully slow, even for us to work on the inside. So I think that's the biggest area of misalignment between the warp speed of startups versus the lethargic speed of big pharma.
Right, Omri, same question.
And I'll touch that exact point, right? We want to move fast, and we count in days and weeks. Pharma counts in quarters and years. So that's how big the misalignment is. So from my perspective, the most important thing and one of the biggest pitfalls is not to align on what are we set to achieve and not aligning on the timelines. When you have these two clearly aligned and you create a really good roadmap to success, that is the beginning of a great partnership and where the innovation side and patient centricity is covered, but also the scale together with the pharma company. So from my perspective, this is how you bring it together by aligning.
That's fantastic. And again, if you would like to speak to them, they'll both be outside after this session. Thank you both for joining us today.